Hello. Well, I'll introduce myself first. Greg Williams, and I'm in charge of the Language Network Services here in France. It is an organisation that has been working with the Franco-British Chamber of Commerce and Industry, I should add, for more than 20 years. Set up in 2001 by my predecessor, Claire Oldmeadow, and to promote and to administer the English proficiency certification. So here we're talking about business English, professional English proficiency certifications that are certified by the Chamber here in France. They have been very popular for many years with universities and with business schools, as well as with companies and many of the members of the Chamber here in France. Let me start straight away with a general presentation. Well, you know the Franco-British Chamber, a network to generate cross-channel business between Britain and France. More than 100 events every year, conferences, webinars, etc. And language services, as Catherine has just said, language services including cross-cultural coaching, language training, and business English level tests and exams. So we're going to be talking about the business English level tests and exams today. So we have three different tests. The two first ones are more exams. We have the Diploma in Business English, or the DBE, the English Business Certificate. These two are exams with a pass and fail. And the last one is the Business English Skills Test, or BEST, which is a level test. So there's no pass or fail, and you just get a mark, very similar to the TOEIC or English 360 or other level tests on the market. So this goes over basically what I was saying. The difference between the diploma and the certificate is that the diploma is for more advanced level of students. We're talking more B2 plus C1. That's upper intermediate, advanced level of proficiency in business English. For the certificate, we're talking more pre-intermediate and intermediate level, between an A2 plus B1 level, minimum required level to start. So the diploma, as I said, B2 plus minimum level. You need to get 300 out of 500 points to pass, so that's more than 50%. We're talking 55 to 60%. It tests all four language skills. That's listening, reading, speaking, and writing. The price is between 145 and 175 euros. The English Business Certificate, as I said, is more for an A2 plus or B1 lower intermediate level. Again, you need to get at least 300 points out of 500 to pass. And the price is the same, 145 to 175 euros. Now, I'm going to talk more about the Business English Skills Test today. These were developed in 2001, and they are our, I would say, most adapted and most updated tests today, for several reasons I'll explain later. So they are in standard and specialized English, business English versions. It's a level test, as I said, so there's no pass or fail. There's just a score at the end of the test. It tests all four language skills, as the exams do, and there is a grammar and syntax section as well, which is added to it. So there are actually five parts to it. The price is a little cheaper, between 100 and 115 euros. So very competitive prices. Situating between the English 360 and the TOEIC to give you an idea of price. The TOEIC is a little bit more expensive. English 360 is maybe a little cheaper. So the best level tests were developed, as I said, in 2001 and have been updated annually since then. They are sustained through our collaboration with major companies, higher education schools and universities, ongoing training centres as well for professional trainees, sorry. In many different sectors of activity. The main reason is because we can offer you specialized versions of the test. So we have a standard version, which will give you many different situations in marketing, sales, a little bit of finance, human resource management, and other elements. So a very sort of generalist approach. I'll explain in a minute. There's a standard version and a basics version. And what distinguishes the best test from other tests on the market, and we are the only ones to do this, is that we have specialized versions. Human resources management, corporate finance, transport and logistics, international trade, a legal version, information technology, engineering, and tourism and hospitality. We can also, if your organization is interested, offer you tailor-made versions to suit your particular specialization. So all our versions are updated every year. We take new articles, new voice recordings, and updated questions to stay in line with what's going on around the world. We have contributions made by a team of specialized trainers, all experts in their field. So we are looking for trainers who have specializations, either in marketing, finance, transport, for example, so that we can adapt our role play situations, our email topics, articles, questions that we ask the most appropriately. I'll just let Marine in. Hello, Marine. Welcome. Whoops, I think I went a bit too fast there. Hold on, just go back. So, as I said, 5 sections in the best. Grammar and syntax, reading, listening, writing, and speaking. The test is offered online today via our partner, Expert Quiz, here in France. No, I think I'm going back now. Let me just go forward again. Okay, so first the grammar and syntax is 40 multiple choice questions on grammar, syntax, and the last questions will include phrasal verbs as well. It lasts 20 minutes, and that's an average of 30 seconds per question, and there are 4 possible answers. I'll talk about how to prepare for this test later, but it tests all different kinds of grammar situations. Starting, the first 10 questions are a lower intermediate, pre-intermediate level, and it gets progressively more difficult as we approach the end of the test. So generally the first 10 questions can be done very quickly, and there might be a little bit more reflection necessary in the last questions. The reading comprehension lasts about 30 minutes. There is a document, usually an article or a report taken from real live situations, articles from specialized press, business press, followed by multiple choice questions, a second document with true and false questions, and a last document, more complex, followed by open questions. We believe in offering open questions as well. It's a little bit more difficult for us to mark and more time-consuming, but we believe that it really is very important, especially in this day and age of impeding AI. It's important to have the human touch, and all our examiners are experienced trainers in their field, as I said, but also familiar with the test and have been trained to be able to mark the tests accordingly, and so that we all have the same criteria when we mark the tests. The listening comprehension is 20 recorded passages. It's again approximately 30 minutes. The first 10 passages are very simple true and false statements. So this is accessible to lower intermediate, pre-intermediate levels. Passages 11 to 15 are a little bit more complicated. We'll have telephone numbers, having to spell someone's name, writing down, dictating an email address, those kinds of situations. Passages 16 to 18 are longer conversations between 2 or 3 people with multiple choice questions, which are a little bit more complicated and a little tricky sometimes. So here we'll be working on maybe misunderstandings, false friends in particular, those kind of situations. And then finally, the last 2 passages are of an advanced level with complex information that need to be summarized and processed by the candidate. Now, for those of you who are familiar with other tests, usually they will insist on not taking notes. We believe that taking notes is part and parcel of professional work, and so we allow it in our tests, and this is something that is acceptable. I'll talk in a minute about cheating, especially with online testing, in a minute. And in particular, we are vigilant when it comes to written expression, of course, so with, again, AI, which makes it much easier for people to copy and paste from ChatGPT or other websites, but we do have solutions for that. So the written expression part is 50 minutes long. You have 2 parts. 2 sections here. The first part is an email message with instructions. For your information, we have various versions. We sell the best not only in France but also in Spain now. And so we have a Spanish version, which means that when we write the instructions are in your language or in the language of the professional, and they have to translate and write out the email following the instructions and following proper acceptable standard phrases for email messages. The second part is an essay, 250 words, on 1 or sometimes 2 themes out of a choice of 5. One of the themes is, I would say, to a certain extent, an easier option, which is to talk about your job and your responsibilities, and the company that you work for, the organization that you work for. And the other four versions, other four questions will be more on issues either relating to general business issues going on around the world today and relating to professionals, or more specifically, if we're talking about the specialized test. So that leaves us with the spoken expression. So the four parts that I just told you about, they are done online with our partner Expert Quiz. I'll talk more about that in a minute. The last part, spoken expression, is carried out online via a Zoom meeting. It can be face-to-face, of course. I mean, this test can be offered face-to-face as well, though I would say today it's virtually never the case. But we can come to your organization and offer the oral part face-to-face as well. But generally we offer it via a Zoom interview, and it comprises two parts. And it lasts about 15 to 20 minutes. The first part is an interview with where the examiner asks the candidates questions on jobs, their job, their present job, their past experience, their expectations for the future. We can go into their studies and qualifications, maybe a question about their hobbies. We want to test not only their grammar, but also their syntax, their pronunciation, the fluency of how they speak. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be, the candidate has to be perfect in grammar. We can have somebody who makes occasional grammar mistakes. We will listen out to hear if that person might correct themselves without influencing too much the fluidity and the fluency of what they're saying. We will be listening also to how rich their vocabulary might be as well. So it's a mix there of different elements, and we will be ticking boxes as the person is speaking. The second part is a role play situation where you have instructions in the language of the candidate. And they will have these instructions visible during the role play situation. The examiner will be taking on one of the roles, and the candidate another, the other person's role. So here it's an exchange, a typical business situation, a problem. It might be a meeting situation, an interview. It might be just a casual conversation around the coffee machine on a business context. So those are the different parts of the test. I mentioned the Expert Quiz, our testing partner. How does it work? Well, if you, either as an individual or as an organization, are interested, you contact us, giving us your name and email address, or we will send you an Excel sheet file for you to fill in with the list of candidates' names and email addresses. Stipulating which best version you're interested in. This will also work for the DBE and the EBC as well, of course, and stipulating the dates. This will allow us to send you invitations with slots. So the invitations for modules 1 and 2, I haven't explained this, but modules 1 and 2 are the first 4 parts of the test, which are going to be taken online. So the grammar and syntax, listening, reading, and writing will be sent by email with access codes to Expert Quiz with instructions and informing them of the time left, when it will start, and how much time they have during the test. The last part, Module 3, the oral test, this will be the Language Network Services who will send you an email, a separate email, with a time of passage for yourself or for each candidate, and the link to the Zoom meeting. Generally, if we're working with organizations, we ask the organization to set up one single laptop or computer, which the candidates can use, which will allow the tests to be carried out more seamlessly, without all the typical technical problems that we might have if each candidate is accessing with a separate code. Of course, if you're an individual candidate, then the same process will apply. That's how we work. The payment, we will send you an initial estimate following your details, and we will expect your approval before sending out the particulars that I just told you about, the organization. And at the end of the test, certificates and reports will be sent out. So we send out a report which gives you your detailed results per each part of the test, with the total and a short explanation of what your level means in terms of proficiency of the language. And we will then send a corresponding invoice after the passage of the test. Now, let me stipulate that that is concerning organizations. As far as individuals are concerned, we will send you the invoice before, and we will ask for payment before passage of the test, as I have just told you here. That's basically how it works with Expert Quiz. I'll take your questions later in a minute. Just to give you an idea of the grading system for the best. So you get a mark out of 100. More than 91% is an advanced C1 plus level. That corresponds to more than 900 in the TOEIC score. I've given you an equivalence here because most of our clients are more familiar with the TOEIC, so this gives you an equivalence here. And there you have the other levels. So as I said, this is not a pass or fail test. It's just a level test, and so whatever your mark, you will get a certificate and you will get a report at the end. Preparing yourselves or your candidates for the best. If you are a school or a university, you might be interested in preparing them for it. We can send you back issues of the test. We can also sign you up online for a modest fee. It's 10 euros per candidate. Candidates can practice online with a version. We can also send you paper versions of the test, which you can then, as a teacher, trainer, you can work on with your students to give them more practice before they start. The online preparation is interesting because it gives them not only an idea of the kind of questions they'll be getting, but also how to manage the, I would say, a certain amount of stress when it comes to exams and tests, and managing the technical aspects of actually doing the test online. So The typical areas of preparation, grammar and syntax, so really working on the tenses, word order, linking words are important, essential phrasal verbs used in business, prepositional phrases, etc., are important to refresh with your students. Or for yourself, reading comprehension exercises based on different types of articles, reports, graphs, manuals, instructions, listening comprehension exercises, interviews, extracting pertinent information, getting your students to take notes while they're listening, that kind of situation, being able to understand gists as well as understanding specific information. Writing exercises, get your students to write essays, write emails, work on different email styles, from more direct styles that you would have with your colleagues to a new contact, a prospect, for example, and a much more formal approach, or contacting lawyers, ministers, government organisation, administration, this kind of thing. And finally, for the speaking part, practicing role playing. So as I said, we can send you role play situations for you to work on, and improvisations as well, pitching, talking about yourself. We can help you to prepare. We can offer you training, either online or in your organization. So contact us for that, because we're also a training organization based here in France. We do many of our tests, our training online today, and we work with other countries around the world, in Europe, let's say. And we can help you to focus on specific aspects of the test. We are also Calliope, so we can offer you French public funded training as well, via your CPF, or reimbursed by your OPCO.